Ladies and gentlemen of the Mortal Kombat community, I welcome you to a very special show. A show that will go beyond the personas of your favorite community members and give you a look at the person behind the player. Welcome to Life on Boon Street. Welcome one and all to Life on Boon Street. I'm your host, STB Take a Chance. Tonight, we have a guest who cannot possibly be introduced with enough praise. Titles bestowed upon our guest include Best in Canada, Captain Canada, the best Quan Chi on the planet, and he's also a very respected member of our community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome leader of STB Shujinkydink. Welcome to Boon Street, Shujinkydink.
Thanks for having me, Chance. Thanks for everyone for tuning in to listen to my story.
Thanks for being here. Let's get right into it. Shujinkydink, first off, let's introduce ourselves. As I said before, I'm Take a Chance. My real name is Chance Lynch. You may call me whatever you wish. What is your real name?
My real name is Edwin McDougall. It's my birth name. I had it since I was born. Probably will have it till I die.
Is there any significance behind it? Were you named after someone?
That I actually don't know. My mother gave it to me when I was born. Edwin Joseph was the name that I was given. My middle name is Joseph. And I was adopted, so I never got to find out why I was given that name, but my parents, when they adopted me, decided that, that's the only thing that I could really keep from my original mother, so they decided not to change my name, even though they had the opportunity to do so. They just changed my last name.
Wow, I had no idea that you were adopted.
Yes, sir. It's a crazy story, actually.
We'll probably get into that later. Hold on to that.
All right.
Dink, before we can talk about you, let's talk about the people who made you. You. Tell us about your parents. What's their story? And that could be, I guess, your adopted parents or your real parents, whichever one you want to talk about.
Well, I don't really know much about my real parents. I heard, this is all just what I heard because I was way too young to know, that my dad was an Indian chief in Saskatchewan. I'm actually First Nations of North Cree. Mm-hmm. I'm half English, white, whatever you want to call it. And then my mother, from what I was told, was a street person. Sold herself on the street, that kind of thing. And I think I was about 6 months old when they came and apprehended me from her house. I don't know exactly why that happened or how that became about. But I lived in a foster home for 2 years, and then I was adopted by my parents, who still have a really close relationship with now. When I was about 2.5, me and my brother were both adopted. He's my real brother. We share the same mom. He was actually apprehended as a fetus before he was even born. The court had ordered that she had to give him up, and she fought tooth and nail with him to the very end to try and keep him. And there was just no way that they said no. As soon as he's born, he's coming with us. So he was born. He had a different dad than me. So we're kind of half brothers. We share the same mom. But if you ever meet us, he's whiter than I am. But we share the same eyes and we have the same smile. So we kind of have put it together over the years, an image of what our mom looks like, just kind of looking at us and our similarities. Mm-hmm. But it was really cool that we were adopted together. And it's kind of mind-boggling that he's the only one in my life that I know that shares the same bloodline as me.
Yes.
It's just me and him. So it's really cool to grow up with him, and just the bond that we have from that is absolutely incredible. And my parents that adopted me, my mother, she grew up kind of an abusive home. When she was 14, she ran away and kind of got into dating the wrong guys, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad, I think, was a little bit of the opposite. He had, like a really good family life. His dad was well respected
Yes.
within the community that they lived in. He was, I think he was a district manager or something for a company, BC Hydro. It's like a provincial hydro business or whatever here in or over in BC. And so he grew up quite well. He was, from what he told me, he was never really popular in high school. He was kind of just, did his own thing, kind of nerdy. But then he met my mom when he was, I think early 20s, something like that. My sister, his daughter, he has a daughter from a previous marriage. Her name is Melanie, and she was born when he was 21.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a single dad, when he was 22, 23. And then my mom and my dad had a mutual friend that actually introduced each other. She actually asked them both to babysit one of her kids one night to kind of set them up, and they both came over, and they were kind of confused, but they just kind of went with the flow, and that's how they met. And they were nothing but good parents to me my whole growing up, And my mom was told at an early age that she couldn't have kids, which really, really upset her because she wanted to give somebody the childhood that she could never have.
Right.
So she was determined to, she was just amazing all through my childhood. She made sure that we had everything, She spoiled us. She, put us in all types of programs, made sure that we had play dates with friends whenever we wanted, kind of thing. And, when she adopted us, it was like 2 weeks before her 30th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And she said for, I think it was quite a few years, that she just kept telling herself, I'll be a mom before I'm 30. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but it's going to happen. And she just put it out there, and she absolutely believed that was going to happen. And then 2 weeks before her 30th birthday, she got the call about me and Phil at the adoption agency, and came down, and,
Wow.
everything went good. And, it's just, I don't know, it's crazy. And I've had, a very good relationship with them, my entire life. So I'm not, stand up people for sure. I really, really hope to aspire to be, the parent that they were to me. That's what my goal is.
It sounds like you have a very special relationship with them.
Oh, it doesn't, to me, it does, I don't even think of myself as adopted half the time. I mean, that doesn't faze me in a bit that I don't share the same bloodline with them, because I love them through and through, and, it just doesn't matter.
You talked a lot about your birth mother.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned your birth father slightly. Do you have a connection with him now?
I've kind of went searching for him in the last couple of years, but not very hard. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the only reason that I would really, I've really been searching for him is, like, I have a son now, and if he ever decides that he wants to go and get his status or whatever, status Indian, that he needs to prove that he came from Indian blood. So I have to go and prove that I came from it in order for him to go get it. Cause I'm not status. It's just, I grew up, both my parents were white, and I don't feel like that's something I should go after. But the benefits from that are crazy. And, if my son wants to go after it, he is part Indian. So, I mean, I wouldn't judge him if he went for it at all. So I want to leave that door open for him if he decides to do it.
Right. Let's talk about your story. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in North Vancouver, and then when I was adopted, I lived in Maple Ridge for probably 4 or 5 years. It's a small town. Well, not really small, but it's on kind of the greater Vancouver area. And then in grade 1, I moved to a smaller town called Salmon Arm. It's just in central BC. It's a very small town. It's like 20,000, 25,000 people, something like that, I think, at the time. Mm-hmm. And I lived there until I was about, I think, 14. I liked it there. It was small, so you knew everybody, kind of thing. There's only a couple different schools, and then, the people, you got along with everybody because everybody's parents knew everybody. They all worked together, seen each other. There's only so much to do in small towns, right? So,
right.
and then, when I was 14, I moved to Kamloops, which was about an hour and a half away from there. a much bigger city. I mean, well, to me, anyways, is about 70, 80,000 people, and seemed like that was the big city to me at the time, and it was a big adjustment because the mentality of all the kids there was a lot different, and the community that I moved to in Kamloops, all the kids there had grown up together, and everybody knew each other.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird, especially at that age, to kind of go in and be, kind of the outsider. And it took me a while to fit in, but I eventually found my niche and I kind of ran with it. So.
Did you meet Mark Recchi?
No, I wish I met Mark Recchi, man. I never got to meet that guy. I did. There is a street in Kamloops called Mark Recchi Way, though.
He's my favorite hockey player, so that's how I knew.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Well, yeah. I'll take a picture of myself with him if I ever meet him, and just post it on your Facebook just to show you how great I am.
I would love that. When you think back about your time as a child, and you mentioned your different communities, and going from a small, tight-knit one to more of a bigger area. What's the first happy memory that comes to mind? Like, now.
First happy memory? Probably just playing soccer. Me and my brother played soccer growing up. So just playing soccer with my friends. That's also special to me because that's how involved my dad was in it. My dad was our coach. He coached both mine and my brother's teams. And it's a good memory because it's something that the whole family was doing together. And I really like, even as a kid, I valued that, I really enjoyed spending time with my family. I don't know, they always made me feel good about myself, which was really important. And, that's just one of many memories too. That's just the first one that comes to mind. Playing video games with my brother. There's one video game in particular. It's called, Shining Force 2. It's an RPG for, Sega Genesis. And my brother and I used to play it. And my brother he's 2 years younger than me, and I think I was like, 8 or 9 when we played it, and the game scared him too much to play. So he would sit there for hours and just watch me play it. And, every year I just go through and I beat it once just cause it just reminds me of like being kids and stuff. And, my brother will still watch me, I'm going to be 25 this year and my brother's going to be 23. So, it's cool that, it's something that we've kind of done together over the years. It's just a kind of crappy made little video game, but it means a lot to us to play it. So,
can we just talk about your relationship with your brother for a second? Do you take on the role as a protector, or are you kind of like super, super best friends? Like, how would you describe your relationship with him?
My relationship with him has been fluctuating over the years. We got along like we were best friends when we were kids. Like we did everything together. He followed me everywhere. And then you get to be a teenager, and then all of a sudden when you're a teenager, it's not quite so fun to have your little brother hanging around with you. So I was kind of a dick to him during high school and stuff, which is, I really, really regret that. And we would kind of distance each other. Like we were into different things in high school. And since I graduated and he graduated, we've become, closer than ever, I'd say. Like, right. He's my little brother, man. I love him. And, I guess I'm really protective about him. Like, I don't really need to be because he's like, there's a big kind of, he works out a lot and that kind of thing. He's a lot bigger than me. But, like, he's sensitive though. Like, he can't have like people call him names and stuff like that, even if they're his friends. That irks me a little bit. I'm the only one that's allowed to make fun of him. Everyone else can go away. I take that seriously. So it's, it's definitely become closer since we've been adults, and we just grow closer and closer every year. And it was really hard for me to move. I moved recently, and it was really hard on both of us actually. And every time I go back to visit, it's really emotional, and it's you just enjoy each other's company and realize like how good friends you are. Really, just brothers. Just brothers. That's all it is.
You talked about how you feel really bad for kind of picking on. I think our viewers and I could definitely tell you that it's almost like a rite of passage for brothers to rag on each other. It usually always works out in the end.
Yeah, unwritten code.
That's right.
Yeah.
Unwritten code. Can you think of a time when you got into big trouble? Tell us about it.
big trouble, like
big trouble. Like
as like a kid, like as a teenager, like
just anytime.
There's two times I want to tell you about. The first time was when I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old. I think it was, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, 6, I guess. I was in grade 1, and I was always a really quiet kid. I didn't really do much. I just kind of kept to myself. I'd play with my, in the sand by myself. I was a little bit antisocial just because, I was really shy.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a friend at school, and he wasn't really the best friend to make friends with. Like, he was quite the opposite of me. But anyways, we were outside playing after school one day, and there was this big mud puddle, like, right in front of one of the walls of the school. And, we could run and we could slide through it, because I think it was like winter or something, so there was like some ice on it. But, we kept just running and sliding through it. And we got like the side of the school just covered in mud. Like, just, I don't know how we got so much mud on the school, but we did it. And, I'll never forget it, because I got called down to the principal's office, and that was devastating. Like, I was crying and I was upset, and like, I think I was more upset than my parents were, because they called my parents. They told them about this. I don't know why, actually. It's just mud on the side of the school now that I think about it. But either way, we had to sit there and we had to clean all this mud off, and I remember just bawling my eyes out, just taking all this mud off the side of the school. And the guy that I did it with was doing it with me, and he was having fun doing it, and he was like, "Oh, that was so funny, we made the principal so mad, blah blah blah." And I was like, "No, we got in trouble. What are you doing?" But that's I've always remembered that, because that was my first and one of the only trips to the principal's office. The second story that I'll always remember is I had just moved to Kamloops, and I'd been there for, like, I don't know, 6, 7 months, something like that. And there was a guy at a different school that, I forget exactly how it started. I think it started over a girl or something. But anyways, he wanted to come and fight me. And I had never ever been in a fight before. I had done nothing like that. So, he came out, and then like all my friends came because they wanted to watch. And then I had no idea what this guy even looked like. So he showed up. They got out of the car, and then I was like, "Oh man, I don't want to fight that guy." He was all tough, and then what's even worse is, while we were waiting for this guy to show up, there's like 30 kids sitting in this parking lot waiting for this guy to show up, and then the parking lot's like 20 feet away from a grocery store.
Yeah,
and then my dad rolls into the grocery store, and he sees me standing with like these 30 kids. So he walks over, and he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh, hey." He's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Nothing. We're just hanging out, chilling in the parking lot." He's like, "Oh, cool. All right, well, see you at home, I guess." And it was like so awkward, because like you had to know something was up, because we're just standing there. No one's doing anything. We're just standing there. That was funny. But anyway, so he shows up, jumps out of the car. He's like, "Who the fuck's Edwin? Who's this guy supposed to fight? Who the fuck's Edwin?" And then I was like, "Damn it!" And like I hesitated for a second. So I'm like, "Do I actually want to man up and do this?" Like, I was having second thoughts. And then all of a sudden, like, I swear, you can't make this shit up. This truck just like friggin' screeches into the parking lot, and like, one of the huge ass jock guys that I was friends with jumps out of the back of the truck, and he's like, "I'm fucking Edwin, bitches. Who am I fighting? Man up!" And he starts pushing them all, and they're all kind of like, "Whoa, we'll be back," and they drive away. And I'm sitting there like, "What the hell just happened? Like, did that actually just happen?" And then like, oh man, it was the craziest thing ever, and everyone was so hype about it, because like, I obviously pussied out. I was like freaking 15 years old, never been in a fight. I was like, damn. And this guy just comes out of nowhere, and like Mr. Popular football player, and just, is ready to
saves the day.
Saves the day. Mess all these guys up for me, and it was crazy. And so after that, like, a month or two after that, I joined boxing.
Was that the only altercation you ever got in with physically?
No, I had one fight with a guy. Just, it was really stupid. I was just really drunk one night, and I thought he fingered me, but it turns out he didn't. So I got in a big fight with him, and then afterwards I was like, he's like, "Man, why'd you do that?" And I'm like, "Well, I thought you fingered me, didn't you?" He's like, "No, I was just waving at you." I'm like, "Oh." shit. And he's like, well, you want to come back to my house and drink some wine? I'm like, fuck yeah. So we went back and drank wine at his house. And then the only other time that I can remember was I was really mad at my brother because he stole my booze or something at a party once. And I went to swing a punch at him, and he just judo flipped me. It was so embarrassing because it's my little brother who's like 2 grades younger than me, and I'm just so drunk. And he's drunk, but he was more sober than I was.
Yeah.
Judo flips me, and I'm lying on the ground. I'm like, well, I think I'm just gonna go home.
Dust yourself off and walk away.
Other than that, that's really all that I've been in. I train in boxing and jiu-jitsu and stuff, so I mean, I spar regularly. Well, I haven't done it in a couple months, but the last couple years I've been boxing. I did since I was 16, so spar. That's punched in the face. There's something exhilarating about getting punched in the face, man. I don't know what it is, but I love it. So yeah, I used to do that every week, and then jiu-jitsu, last couple years. So, but other than that, like no street fights or anything like that. So
good. This is going to tie into a little bit of what we already talked about, but being a teenager is very tough on some kids, but other kids kind of revel in it. You think about your teenage days, and a lot of either you loved it or you look back and kind of shake your head at it. What's your opinion on being a teenager? Tell us a little bit about your experiences as being a teen.
My opinion as being a teenager is I didn't appreciate it as much as I wish that I did now that I'm older. It's a really unique time in your life where you can just socialize and, like you're learning, you're going to school, you're partying on the weekends, you can do like not other than school. There's not really a whole lot else that you kind of, unless you have, dickhole parents that put you in every single extracurricular activity. I mean, you can go out and just chill and enjoy life. And you don't really get to do that when you get older as much. You have work and, that kind of thing that gets in the way of all that.
Responsibility.
Big responsibilities. So, if there's any teenagers that listen to this, just really take advantage of what you're going through right now, because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Myself as a teenager, I was really friends with everybody, but I was mostly a skater. I was the best skater in my school up until grade 11, where some guy moved in from Saskatchewan.
Just to clarify, we're talking about skateboarding, right?
Skateboarding, not figure skating.
Okay.
Can you imagine me figure skating? That'd be awful. But yeah, so skateboarding, that was fun. That was basically like I just hang out at the skate park every day after school. Like we'd bus there, we'd bus all over town, find different skate spots. I actually almost got sponsored by West 49 at one point. I don't know. That's basically all that I did. I wasn't really into sports much. I kind of stopped playing soccer, when I got into high school. Mm-hmm. But I was really into acting. Like, I always did drama class from grade 8 to 12, and grade 12 I landed the lead role as Romeo in our school play, which was really hard. If you've ever read that play, holy man. It's like speaking a different language and you have to memorize the whole thing too, and like you don't even know what they're saying, so how are you supposed to act out something you don't understand? Like it was really hard, but it was really cool because they had kids come in from the elementary schools to watch and stuff, and so I'd have people all over town and stuff because say you recognize me even years afterwards. Like up till last year, people would still say, "Hey, it's Romeo! Look at that guy!"
That's awesome.
That's crazy. Yeah, it was. My parents were real proud how well I did, and I met a girlfriend who my girlfriend was playing Juliet. Actually, I ended up dating her for a couple months after.
I was just actually about to ask you, how was Juliet? So you answered my question.
There you go. She was awesome. I gotta leave it at that. I'll let your imagination run with that one.
In high school, were you the jock, the prep, the nerd, the partier, or the stoner? Or a combination, perhaps? Explain.
Oh, damn. If I had to choose one, I'd probably choose the partier. I was at pretty much every single party. I smoked a lot of weed in grade 10 and 11, but I didn't do that a whole lot in grade 12. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't really, but I knew everybody. Like I knew all the jocks, I knew all the preps, I knew the stoners, I knew the skaters, I knew everybody. And I kind of, went out of my way to befriend everybody. Just because I don't know, the more people you know, the better, I guess. And it's just I like being friendly and having things in common with people and learning new things. So the more people that I met and that I befriended, regardless of their reputation, I always learn something from. I've always made sure to ask lots of questions when I meet people because there's so many people in this world that know so many different things, and every person you meet, regardless of their social status, knows something that you don't. And you just pick up all these different information from the more people you talk to. So when I was in high school, I just kind of made sure to talk to everybody and, had good ties with everybody. And it left lots of options open when I wanted to go and do stuff. I could go, I wasn't good at it, but I'd go play football with the jocks, or I'd go, go to the movies with some of the preppy kids, or I'd, go get stoned and watch Dazed and Confused with the stoners,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So it was, it's you definitely experience a lot more of life when you know different people and are willing to hang out with them. Just keep an open mind.
I really like that message. I think that's an awesome message to send to people, is to keep an open mind and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, you definitely learn more from asking questions than you do just from talking about yourself and stuff. So, it's amazing. Like the most closed-minded people I find are the people that talk about themselves and they don't ask questions about you.
Right.
And those are generally people that seem the most unhappy to me. So, I'm not saying that that's the same case with everybody. I'm just saying that's what I've found in my experiences. But
I asked this to a couple of past guests, and I'm gonna ask it to you. Who did you most, hang out with in high school? Were you a floater, or were you more in a particular group? Like you said, you were involved, you skateboarded, you were in drama, you played sports. So I'm just wondering, what circle were you in?
If I had to choose one, it'd probably be mostly with the drama kids, I guess, just because grade 10 and 11 I was in, the school play. I just had smaller roles. So we always had rehearsal. So after school, like 5 days a week. So I got to know everyone there pretty well. So the people I spent the most time with would probably be them. Outside of school, my best friend, his name is Calvin. Still my best friend to this day. I kind of just chummed around with him, and he was the same as me. He knew like everybody, and he's closer friends with a lot of people that I weren't as close friends with.
Right.
So I'd tag along with him and do a lot of stuff with him. So yeah, it was basically me, the drama kids, or me and Calvin. Then whatever me and Calvin were doing, that was basically what high school was for me.
All right, let's move a little closer to the present time. Not quite to where we are now, but let's just move forward a little bit. But before we do, many people who are listening to this may not be aware that you do have a wonderful little man. So this would be an excellent opportunity for you to, tell us his name and how he came into your life.
Yeah, my son's name is Dryden David Ronald McDougall. We got his middle names from my dad's name and my girlfriend's, his mom's dad's name. The name thing was kind of funny because we had a choice between our choices narrowed down between Dryden and Jason, and I think I was really leaning towards kind of Jason a little. Like I don't know, I kind of like more original names, but I kind of sold myself on Jason just because I knew that she really wanted it, and I thought that'd be fine. And then we're like, wait a minute, our due date is on Friday the 13th. So we're like, okay, we're going with Dryden. We didn't want to name him Jason on Friday the 13th. So we ended up naming him Dryden. And he was born October 8th, 2009. He was late, and 2 weeks later we had to be induced. Still remember the whole thing vividly, from waking up that morning, going down there, and just, I don't know, for anyone that doesn't have kids like that, like when you love something, I mean, you get this idea of what love is, and then when you see your child for the first time, that's when you know that you have never loved anything before in your life. Like, you look at this thing and you're like, wow, like the feeling is just overwhelmingly awesome. Like,
Yeah.
and they're like, this is what love is. Like, you think you love your girlfriend when you're 16. You think even your parents, you know, like even you love your parents, but like this love is like a different love. And you totally appreciate your parents more once you realize what it's like, you know? And there's a saying that I heard. It's like, usually that how does it go? Usually when a man figures out that his father was right, he usually has a son that thinks he's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's totally the case. It's amazing. And, you know, everything that you do is just powered by this little human being that has no idea, like, the impact that they're having on your life. Like, I don't know. He's everything, man. He's my world. He actually just, I went home for 2 weeks recently, and, he played his first video game.
Mm-hmm.
We played Sonic 2, which is a bullshit game, by the way. I think they must have patched it or something, since I used to beat the crap out of that game when I was like 8 or 9. I went home, couldn't beat it for shit. No, I spent 7 days trying to beat Dr. Robotnik at the end. Couldn't do it. I don't know what they did, but something that they changed that game. Anyway, so I was holding the controller. He was holding it with one hand, and I would just hold forward, and he would jump, and he'd just press the jump button. And so I'd hold forward, and he'd jump, and he was like, he knew exactly when to jump. Like, he was jumping over things, he was hitting all the enemies, and he made it through the first round, like, pretty smoothly. And I was really proud of him, actually. And, one day if he chooses to, if he wants to, when he's older, I'm never gonna force him to do anything, obviously, because I don't really believe in that. But if he decides to, you know, do competitive gaming, and when I retire, he can take over the Shujinkydink name. He will
mantle.
Yeah. He will carry on the legacy if he chooses to do so.
It's really interesting when we talk about that. Because really, our generation is the first generation that can do something like that. Really, it's the first time in our history where we can say, you know, I'm going to pass down a competitive gaming title.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna say, you know, I was really good at this game.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want in your life, but if you wish to take upon this man, you know, it's really cool to think about that. That has not happened before.
Yeah, it's this generation, like the next generation that we have is just, I don't know, it's the way that this world is going to be, like, when we're old, is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I cannot wait for that. I mean, but that's the one exciting thing that, like, you know, I'm really stoked for on getting old, is just sitting and watching everything and thinking about where I was when I was a kid to how my grandkids are going to view life. And and that's another thing, that you sit back and you have appreciation for your grandparents. And, like, as you get older, you grow more and more appreciative of things as you start to experience them yourself.
For sure.
And, you know, I just, you know, starting to realize that the last few years, and it's pretty crazy for me to, I don't know. That's my end of my rant for that.
Someone once told me that, and I'm just backtracking for a second, but someone once told me that moment where you're holding a child, and I have yet to experience this, so you can clarify this for me.
Right.
That moment when you're holding a child is more or less an outer body experience.
Oh,
it's
man.
almost like you're looking down at yourself. And I'm just saying this because this was the first thing that came to my mind when you said, I love my parents so much more that day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's like, you think, I don't know, like, I was 21 when he was born, and you think that you've experienced every single emotion possible on Earth by the time you're that age. Nothing could prepare you for what you feel when your child is born. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Like, oh, I can't even explain it. Like, I wish I could tell you how good it feels to just hold him for the first time and see him for the first time, and, like, just, you know, hear him. And, like, it only gets better as he gets older. Saying his first words, taking his first steps, like, everything is just, like,
mind-blowing.
It's it's the coolest thing ever, man. It is the coolest doesn't even come close to describing it, but it's just like, it's something that it really makes you a better person, because it's not just about you anymore. It's about them, and everything that you do is for them, and then everything that, I don't know. I've already said all that stuff, but yeah, right. You get the point.
You definitely have something to live for, right? You definitely have that responsibility. Someone that's always counting on you.
Big time.
Certainly gives you a different perspective on life.
And you just want to do as much as you can for you too, to make him proud of you as well when he's older, and he can say, this is what my dad did, because I know that I look at my dad and see all the stuff that he did, and I'm like, wow, like,
is that a motivator for you?
Oh, big time. Like I want, like, to go through, like, for instance, like this gaming thing. Like when I found out, I started playing it online and stuff, and then, I beat this guy who I really have to thank, because he's the guy that got me into tournaments. You may know him. He goes by the moniker Tom Brady. But I beat him online in a game called Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, and he's like, oh no, you can never beat me offline, blah blah blah. And we feuded for years about it, like really heated, threads on MKU and stuff like that, all about it. And then I finally went. I was like, fine, okay, whatever, I'll go. And I went to Devastation, and I placed 9th at Devastation, which at the time was the biggest event they had since Evo. Right. 172 people or something like that showed up. Mm-hmm. And Tom Brady was the man. He gave me all due respect. I think I still hear when he talks about me, it's the same thing. I came and I proved my worth. But I digress. Like the reason I want to do so good about in that kind of stuff is so that I can make my son proud of me and say, my dad accomplished something big. Like people know who he is. Like mm-hmm. I got a message from some guy in Greece on Xbox Live the other day. Like man, like, oh, I can't believe I just played you, blah blah blah. And I'm like, holy, you're in Greece and you know who I am? Like that's crazy. Like, and yeah, and I hope to take him with me, like to one of the tournaments when he's older, just so he can see, so I can make him proud of, the good mm-hmm. reputation that I have, and how well I can actually play the game and stuff. So, even though I want to do well, I want to do real well, but I want to do more for him than for me, and this is the outlet that I chose to do it with.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's move to the present now. Where do you live currently?
I currently live in Cowtown, Calgary, Alberta. Home of the Hart Foundation.
Shoutouts to the Hart family.
Yep.
They actually sold that house, didn't they?
You know what? I haven't been keeping up on them, actually. I hope they didn't, but I mean, I wouldn't really blame them if they did. Mm-hmm.
What's your current occupation?
I am a sanitation technician. Mm-hmm. That's fancy talk for I clean houses for rich people in Calgary. It's awesome. It's a lot of money, and it's I chose it because it's well, first of all, I love it here in Calgary. Like I came up to Calgary for the Canada Cup, which is one of the 2 majors that Canada has every year. Yeah. And I loved it. It was awesome. Like, it's a big city, but it still kind of has that small town feel to it for a little bit for me. So when I came up here, I fell in love with it, and I got friends up here and stuff. So so I came up here, and I don't know, it's been great. It's just, I don't know.
You just felt that instant connection with the city.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't, like, even when I just came up just for a couple days, the people were nice. That's the one thing that changed. Like, when I go to Vancouver, I've been to Vancouver numerous times, and the people aren't nice there, and everybody just looks like they hate their life. And like, it's like, there's like all these old people and business people that don't talk to anybody, and like in Calgary it's different, because I think the majority of Calgary are mostly young people, and there's a lot of people from BC here. Actually, I've run into tons of people from BC since I've been here. So mm-hmm. I think the mentality is more of a younger, kind of small townish thing, because everyone moves there, and from the smaller towns around it too, like Airdrie and stuff like that. They come into town, so it's just a different feel. I just like it, and the gaming here, of course, is better than back home too. There's a very, very small offline scene back home here. You know, it's mostly Street Fighter here, but we're really working on getting that. Like I'm training with all the Canada Cup gaming guys. I don't know if you have ever heard of them. You know, they have some of the top players in Street Fighter. You know, like CCG Air, and I think they just got a new guy, Jozier. You know, CCG Troy, all these guys, but yeah, so it's a really privilege to play with these guys, and then for the first time I felt interested in learning Street Fighter, and a couple of them have shown interest in learning MK. So I go out to these offline meets that are supposed to be Street Fighter only, and I bring my MK disc, and I'll sit there and I'll play by myself in practice mode if I have to, but just to showcase the game and get it out there to these Street Fighter guys. And there's a couple of them have taken a little crack at it, and so it's awesome. So.
Even if they take a look at it, it's better than them not touching it at all, right?
That's right. I mean, just having it out there, and they had it at the Canada Cup last year. When it's a big event, they fly people in from all over. They had it there last year. They're going to have it again this year. So yeah, I'm hoping to really, try and get things going for MK here in Calgary, and it helps that I've been to a couple tournaments that the MK players know who I am, to help build the scene a little bit. So.
We'll get more into your MK competitive what's the word I'm looking for, your career,
right?
In a little bit, but I'm wondering what you do in your downtime at the moment. What do you do to relax? You get some free time. You're all alone at home. What do you do?
All alone at home. You gotta watch porn. I mean, I'm just kidding. No, but I've recently I retired skateboarding 5 years ago, but when I went back home with my brother, I went and did some skateboarding. So I'm thinking I might try and get into it. I forgot how great a cardio it is.
Yeah.
So my goal is to lose weight. So I got really heavy 2 or 3 years ago. I was up to 300 pounds. I'm only 5'10", so that's kind of when I decided to, lay off the Starbucks, because Starbucks is what did it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work in a bank, and they had a Starbucks right next to it, so I'd always go over there every day, sometimes twice a day, and have these crazy ass sugary drinks. And before I knew it, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
So that's when I joined jiu-jitsu, and I lost 85 pounds in 10 months.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's actually one of the biggest accomplishments that I've done in my life. So I had to change my diet, which was really hard. Changing your diet is so hard, especially when you eat shit for 4 or 5 years. It's so hard. But yeah, I did it, and I'm still on the down track. I'm at 220 right now. Trying to, I probably won't lose more weight as far as numbers go. Because I want to focus more on building muscle, and muscle weighs more than fat. So I mean, I'm more worried about my physical appearance. So
yeah,
it's but yeah, so skateboarding and jiu-jitsu and boxing. I watch a lot of UFC. I'm a huge UFC fan. I do that a lot. Hoping to I want to do at least 1 or 2 MMA fights. I had one lined up in Kamloops last summer, but it fell through. And then I kind of stopped training after that. So I've kind of been out of it for 6-7 months. So I kind of want to get back into it again. Maybe try a fight or two just to see how, say that I tried it. Other than that, not really a whole lot. I just play MK. I play MK a lot. Or Soul Calibur. I got the Soul Calibur lately too. That's a fun game. It reminds me of the old 3D MK games. So I like it. But yeah, other than that, and then of course spending time with my boy. So
yeah. Are you in a relationship at the moment? If you are, or if you're not, tell us a story about a relationship you may be in or have experienced.
I'm currently on the market, ladies. So if you're looking for a dink, you find one right here. See what I did there? There's only been I've had a lot of mini relationships, but there's only been two big ones. First one's back in high school. Is a girl I was just head over heels with. Really, first girl that I put, that I really really thought that I loved and that kind of thing. But I kind of ruined that when I got way, way too jealous and overprotective and stuff like that. Ended up just losing it and fighting all the time. I was too suspicious about where she was going, what she was doing, when she really wasn't doing anything at all. So after that relationship, I told myself that I'd never ever get jealous again. That I just let them. If they're people too, I wouldn't want them wanting to do that to me.
Right.
So the next meaningful relationship that I had was with my son's mom. She is. We dated for 5 years. I was 17 when we started dating. So it's we kind of grew up together. We did everything together. We were hung out all the time. We went to the mall all the time. With dinner, went to dates. Lived the life. I had a really good job. Like I worked at a bank while I was a teenager. At 18, I started working at a bank. So I always had a lot of money. So we always went and did some crazy shenanigans and stuff like that. So. And then of course, it doesn't matter, like, even though we broke up mutually, we just we weren't getting along anymore, we just kind of separated as personalities. But even though you break up, even since she had my son, like that was a huge thing, like connection wise. And that's something that I'm really grateful for that she did. And I do have a lot of respect for her for choosing to do that, because she could have easily just not given me a choice and anything like that. And even though we're not on best of terms now, it's still it's something that wanted to know that I'm really grateful for that. And regardless of whatever happened, it's just, I don't know, something you'll always remember, I guess.
Right. Are you a glass half empty or half full kind of guy?
Half full. Glass is always half full. There's always a bright side to every situation. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in a car accident, if you're in, really bad debt, if you're in, if a family member passed away. There's always a bright side to everything. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to find it, and you won't always realize it right away. But there's always a bright side to everything. You just have to keep looking. Stay positive, and the funny thing is that the more stress that you add into your life, the more stress is going to come at you. Like the more that you're feeling stressed, the more stress is going to come. Like you ever notice the people that talk about stress the more are the people that always have it. The people that talk about all the good things they have, and people that's not an accident. That's how it works. When your body is sick or you have a disease, like if you think about the word disease, like if you split that into two words, that's dis-ease. Like your body is dis-ease. Like you just need to take it easy,
right.
Just I don't know. People I don't know. I'm ranting. Bottom line, don't sweat the small stuff, because it's small stuff, and that'll make you freak out every day if you sweat the small stuff.
That's a very interesting take. No, it is. Let's talk about STB. And I know as soon as I said that, a smirk came across your face.
It totally did.
Many of our viewers are familiar or have heard of the STB clan. Tell us the story behind STB. How did it come into existence?
All right. Well, STB, for those of you that don't know, stands for Simply the Best. I came up with the name back in 2004 when the clan started. It was at the very end of the life of the game Mortal Kombat Deception, which before MK9 came out, I think was probably the best Mortal Kombat game to date. Mm-hmm. But it came out. I started the clan with a guy named Island Warrior, and a lot of the older crew will know who he is. He doesn't really have a good reputation, unfortunately. But me and him were friends. I got along with him really well because I get along with everybody. Well, most people. And then, so we started the clan. We weren't really sure what to name it. And I said, what do we want to accomplish? And then he's like, well, we want to be the best. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, the best. And so, after talking about it, we just decided on Simply the Best, because we know that you can never be the best, but it's always a goal. You always want to be the best, And I think you work harder when you have a goal. So to name the clan Simply the Best, it's just reminding you of what you're constantly striving towards, to be the best, because you'll never be the best. No one is ever the best. There's always, at any given time, someone that could take you out.
Right.
So it's just a reminder that you're continually working up that ladder and just keep getting better. Because when you're the best, you're not losing any matches ever. And that's never going to happen to anybody. So, basically, it's me and him, and then we recruited 2 other people. There's one guy that we recruited. His name was Reiko Sanchez. He probably stayed with us the longest, even though nobody knew him because he wasn't on. Well, the website was called Mortal Kombat Central at the time, but it's MKU now. But he was never on any of those websites. He just played online all the time, and he played on our wars and stuff. So he'd have to war us to know. But he stuck by us for a long time. And then we played through Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Was really like kind of where we came out, because a lot of different clans came out back then. The most dominant one at the time was the Outworld Gods. The Pig of the Hut was in that. Lord of the Fly was in that. Bobby Blaze, DJ Dreddy, and it's one guy, Easy to Beat, who is an MK legend in my mind and will always be MK legend. Easy to beat. They were the best, and well, the best clan anyways. So we warred with them all the time, and had a lot of wars through that. And then Armageddon died out, and MKDC came out. And it seemed that everybody left. Like, all the old school guys just left. Pig of the Hut wasn't really even that active on that. I think he played Street Fighter during that time. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a very balanced game, which I can totally see why people left. It was kind of rushed, like a last money grab for Midway kind of thing. So STV was kind of in a down period at that point, for probably, a good 2 years, until just before MK9 came out, and I kind of wanted to revive it for MK9 because I knew it was going to be a really good game now that WB had Mortal Kombat. So I started recruiting again, and the first couple members that I recruited, one of them's still with us. He's my right-hand man, Embark85. He was one of the first members of the new STB. And the other being Hebrew National, I don't think plays anymore. But yeah, they were the first 2, and then after that, MK9 came out, and then we kind of recruited on a just a play-by-play basis. Like, if we played you and you're good, then yeah, you're in, kind of thing. And we recruited, members like Great 106, who's still with us. He's, one of the co-leaders.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's just one of the top players. I believe. I wish he would have got a chance to play 16-bit or CD at final round. I really do. I really wanted to watch that. But yeah, he ended up placing 9th at final round, which was his first offline. He's mostly an online player. But yeah, we recruited him. John B24, who's very well known. One of the original Johnny Cages, to come up with a lot of these frame traps and stuff that he used. And we just grew. We grew and grew and grew. We recruited, guys like Jimmy Potato, Charlie Murphy, Regin. There's way too many in a name. You, of course. And we're big, and now we're starting to move into the offline scene now, and you're starting to see more and more of STB in these tournaments. Like you see, Charlie Murphy made it to the last one, Power Up. Did very well against Tom Brady. We got, I think, 5 or 6 of us going to Toryukin, which is going to be awesome. Stoked on that. We had 4 of us down at final round. That we're going to be all over the place. Like, STB is not going anywhere. We're getting stronger, especially in a time when all these online clans are kind of dying out. Like, you're seeing less and less of them, less and less activity, less and less clan wars. But in that time, that's when we're getting stronger, and we're getting better members, and we're getting more recognition. And it's so proud of me to think that I stuck by this thing for so many years, and all these people, and to see what it's become from where we started is truly amazing. I mean, it's from 3 guys, just kind of on weekends we do clan wars, to now, we have people at tournaments where you know your name, and we're on streams and people are watching you, and people in other countries know who you are and stuff like that. So it's truly amazing. And we're at the point right now where we're no longer actively recruiting based on skill.
Right.
Because of the size that we've got to, reputation is more of a bigger thing for us now than skill is. You need to be, well liked in the community, have some sort of presence, or, be contributing to the Mortal Kombat community as much as you can. A tournament experience is good, but not a must. If there's one in your area, we'd of course encourage you to go, kind of thing. But it's I'm not making that a thing yet. But it's mostly reputation based now, and we don't have formal tryouts. We'll usually just invite you in if we think that you're the right fit. It's not an overnight type of thing. So, but yeah, it's we're just like a family, like everyone's friends. We have a Skype chat that's continually going. You can log on at any time of the day, and there's always people, shooting the shit, talking about gameplay, talking about life, talking about everything. We all know pretty much all each other's life stories. So it's like we're just a band of brothers. It's crazy. It's really crazy what it's become. Really, really loving it. Shout outs to everybody in STB, because you guys make it all possible.
Shout outs to STB. Do you feel that because you're in Canada, you may be overlooked in the community?
I think because I usually don't make it out of pools is why I'm overlooked. No, in all seriousness, I think it's hard being in Canada to make it to all these tournaments, because it's expensive to go from Canada to the U.S. Travel lots. The main thing being is that we only have two airlines in Canada, WestJet and Air Canada, so they can pretty much charge whatever they want. So the prices are really high. So it takes a little bit of time for me to get down there because I have to save up and stuff. And then there's a lot of very good players here in Canada that people don't know about, and that people just assume that we don't have a scene. People just assume that they're bad players, but we have a lot of good players all across Canada, and it's unfortunate that they don't get more recognition. But a lot of them, they're just in these small communities and they play each other and they don't really know about, MKU, TYM and stuff. So,
right.
I'm trying to go to all these little tournaments and stuff, like in Canada. And, like I went up to Edmonton recently, and there's a couple MK players up there, back home in Kamloops, there's 5 or 6 back there. And I'm trying to get them all to go to these sites and, go down to these tournaments if they can. And, cause we just need the players to know about the offline scene. Cause for some reason, the Canadians, they just don't know about the scene as big as it is in the States. I'm not really sure why that is. In Toronto they do. Toronto has a huge scene.
Toronto has a really big scene.
Toronto is by far the biggest scene in Canada. I can't think of who would be second biggest, But, I think it's if more Canadians made it to the tournaments down in the States, Canada as a whole, I think, is overlooked, as far as our talent. The only players that I can think of that travel lots are, me, Jimmy, and, Neil, Russell, and Winter. So really the only ones that go down to the States on a continual basis. So it'd be nice to get a couple more people, but like I said, it's expensive, so I can totally understand why more Canadians don't make it down there.
What do you think that Canada as a whole needs to do to improve its scene? Do you think it's just travel, or do you think it's something else?
I think that traveling would probably be the main thing. But I think that if we got these little communities that have, like some communities, like in Saskatchewan has a pretty big scene, and they have some good players. I met them all when I went to the Canada Cup. If they had regular scenes and they were promoting them, like little tournaments, and they were, streaming them, we could have the streams on MKU so everyone could look and see, I think that people just need to see what we have. And like I said, I'm not really sure why a lot of the Canadian MK players don't know about the tournament scene, but that's what I'm kind of trying to do, is travel, and I can do that more now with now that I picked up Soul Calibur, because Soul Calibur is a little bit more universally played in these smaller tournaments than MK is. So I'm going to try and go to all these little tournaments and try and find MK players and stuff. So hopefully get Canada on the map.
A lot of people may or may not be aware with your affiliation with MKU, Mortal Kombat United. Tell us about your experiences there. How did you get into your current position?
It all started back in 2004 when I first started playing video games. Played Mortal Kombat online. I actually didn't even play it online. I had no idea what Xbox Live is. All I knew is that it was something on the menu that I never clicked. And because I played Deception for probably 6 or 7 months offline, just because it was fun playing against friends and stuff. And then one of my friends was like, "Do you ever play this on Xbox Live?" And I'm like, "You know what? I always wondered what that was." And he's like, "It's just you play online with friends and stuff." So I'm like, "Oh, you don't have to come over? I can play you?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, we could do that, but you can play someone in the States and stuff." And I'm like, "No way!" I was mind boggled when he told me that. So I think later that night I went out and I bought it, and because it was on the original Xbox, you had to buy the big kit with a Xbox Live. It came with the headset and stuff, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I was on there getting drunk every weekend, just trolling people, 16, 17 years old kind of thing. So I started on there and then talked to some people, and eventually, caught up with Gerchap, who owns MKU now, but he told me that at that time everyone was on MortalKombatOnline.com. So I went there, and I was there for maybe a total of 2 weeks before everyone moved to the site called Mortal Kombat Armageddon Central, was what it was originally called, because they were getting it prepped for Mortal Kombat Armageddon. That was supposed to be coming out. That was hype game, had every character in the franchise in, that kind of thing. Yeah. That eventually was changed to Mortal Kombat Central. It was owned by a guy named JTF. Who I know is still in the community somewhere. I know you're out there, buddy. I just have to figure out who you are. But he owned the site, and one day he was playing Lord of the Fly, who at that time was called MisoFly, and they played online, and Lord of the Fly did not like the lag because JTF lived over in the UK, and so they got in a big fight, and JTF just closed the site down. And said, you guys are going to complain about lag, blah, blah, and you're not having a site anymore, blah, blah, blah. Well, within 24 hours, Lord of the Fly, Gerchap, and Bobby Blaze had a new site that they put up, and they called it Mortal Kombat United. And that is actually where everybody started. That's where TYM came from. Everyone was there. Crazy Bone was there. Tim Sack was there. Storms was there. I think Storms was admin at one point. And then eventually down the road, they had their creative differences or whatever you want to call it now. But TYM kind of split off from there. And then I was approached. I was actually a moderator on Mortal Kombat Central. And then when it got shut down, I wasn't able to carry my position over when I got to MKU. So I was just a regular member for a long time. And then, I think it was about a year ago now, they approached me to become a moderator, and I actually turned it down and said, no, I got a 2-year-old, and I really want to focus on my competitive gaming, that kind of thing. Right. So I just don't have time for it. And then, they went into a little bit more detail about the moderator position and, what my responsibilities were. Okay, well, you know what? I can probably make this work. So, I'm currently a moderator over there right now. I have been for a while, and, I really like it. It's a good site. It's not even really, it's more of it's a great social site. For MK, and it has pretty much all the same information that 2IM does, but the shout box is probably its draw. You can just go in there at any given time. There's always somebody in there trolling, or always someone in there fighting, and all those. It's I don't know. It's not like there's not top players over there. It's people don't give the site enough credit, man. Especially since that's where everyone came from. Right. So it's I don't know. It's home for me. It'll always be home for me, just because of the history there, and I know all the top players that came from there, and that careers were originally launched from there. Like mine and Lord of the Fly and Pig of the Hut. It's a shame that the falling out that Pig of the Hut had with MKU, with that whole hacking thing, which I personally I'm 100% sure it wasn't Pig, but it was. Obviously it was someone through his accounts, but I think the way the situation was handled from both sides was really not the best way. I mean, Pig of the Hut was really angry and said a lot of things about MKU, and and stuff in the shout box. But I mean, you got to look at it from his perspective. Like, how would you feel if these guys you've known for 8 years accuse you of something like that? And then you got to look at it from MKU's standpoint, where like they just want to make sure that their members are safe, and like they have all this evidence, and they're just going by the evidence. So I'm sure it's nothing personal. They're just trying to protect the members and protect the site, because the site's been around forever, and I personally think it will be around forever. So and it's the admin, Gerchap, and Darktrax and Wadoshi, and all the moderators there, like, they genuinely care about every single member there. I get to read through the staff forum every day, and they're always thinking of ways to make it better for everybody else, and their focus is always on them. And it totally comes out in the way that the site's put together. So it's I don't know, I love it. I recommend it to everybody for sure.
Shoutouts to MKU.
Shoutouts to MKU.
What do you do after you lose a big match? Like we talked about earlier, you have such drive when you do this because you want to prove, to everybody that you're a good player. You want to prove to Canada that we have, a good scene. You want to prove to your son that you're an excellent player. You have all this drive. How do you feel when you lose?
There's no shame in getting outplayed. I mean, it takes a lot for me to get salty. Like, I can't remember a tournament loss where I've ever been salty. Like, it's just like, it's really upsetting just because, I want to play more. I love the game. I want to play more. It sucks I don't get to play anymore. And like, when I play in tournaments, like, every game is so that I get to play another game. And so there's hype, and people are watching, and people are enjoying it. And the streams watch. The streams, my friends are watching. Everyone's watching. It's awesome. I love it. So when I lose, like when I get sent to losers, I have to take a second and just really think about what happened in that particular match. And one thing that I'm really adamant about is I will never, ever, ever say, I only lost because he did this. I have to figure out what I did wrong, because every time I lose, it's me. It's never my opponent. My opponent, it's never like, oh, he got lucky. If I say that he got lucky, or if I say that, he just hit a lucky trade, or, oh, first player advantage, or, oh, the stage was in his favor, or whatever, that is taking away from my improvement. And then that's going to continue to happen over and over and over again. So I take a second and say, well, where did I lose? Maybe he frame trapped me that I didn't know how to get out. Maybe I didn't use my down 3 enough. Maybe I didn't anti-air properly. Like, I just sit back and think about that match until I have my losers match. When I lose my losers match, there's a really, really heavy feeling of disappointment in myself that I usually feel, and I generally like to be alone for 5-10 minutes. At Devastation, I kind of when I lost, when I was eliminated by I think it was B-Wiz, I just kind of went outside and sat down on a chair, kind of just thought about and then after a while I was like, oh, I shouldn't feel sorry for myself, blah blah blah. Like, I did really well, placed ninth, whatever. So and then I went back and played some more casuals. And then at final round, I did the same thing. When I lost to Clint the Beast, he was an amazing player, by the way. Like, his read, just the way he plays is absolutely phenomenal. I went out. They had there's this crazy random lake right outside of the venue. So I went and I sat on this bench out by the lake, and I just looked and I just kind of thought about the tournament. And then I try and think about why I'm there in the first place. And that's just to make friends, to meet people. I got to meet Pig of the Hut and Lord of the Fly for the first time, and I've known them for 8 years. I got to meet Great One. I got to meet Red Jin, and I've known them for years. I mean, it's more like Mortal Kombat's more than just winning and how far I go in a tournament. Like SCR, I went 1 and 2 at SCR, and I still had a blast that whole weekend. It's just so much fun just going to these things and meeting people, and thanks to video games, thanks to Mortal Kombat, I have friends in the UK. I have friends in the East Coast, Canada. I have friends in the East Coast, United States. I've seen the Grand Canyon. I've experienced the California winter. So to me, Mortal Kombat's more than just a game. It's a way to go and explore the world and meet new people and learn about different cultures. So when I lose in a tournament, that's only one part of the whole reason why I'm there. Mm-hmm. So I never really get too upset about it. Sorry.
Would you consider yourself your own worst critic or best moral support?
I think that being your own worst critic is kind of the only way they're going to get better. Because if you don't really criticize yourself, if you don't accept what you're doing wrong, then you're not going to get better. And then,
so you're saying you're your own best critic?
Kind of. No, but like you have to realize what you do well, and that's really important because you have to know both where your strengths and your weaknesses are. Like lately, I've been focusing a lot on anti-air because I really think that's a big part of this game. And it was a really weak point. When I look back at my older matches, when I play with Quan Chi all the time, obviously, and I'd anti-air with uppercut, and then at SCR 16-bit said, "Do you think there's anything better you could use for anti-air?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, come on, man. I'm best Quan Chi. What are you talking about?" So I went back to the lab and started messing around with anti-airs, and man, did it pay off. Like down one trance now, like that's universal anti-air for Quan Chi. You can down four trance the crossover. And what people don't know about the down one trance, down one will stuff a jump kick. Like, you can't even jump kick at him because the hitbox on it is so big. And I would never have found that out if I didn't, realize what my weaknesses were. And, at the time, I didn't know it was a weakness, but thanks to 16-bit, I figured it out. And as far as moral support goes, you have to give yourself credit where credit is due. Like, you can't, like, when I went to final round, if you're watching any of the footage before the tournament, I was blowing everybody up. Like, I lost, I think, 2 sets. I lost a set to Pig of the Hut in the money match. It was 4-4, and it came down to, like, the last hit of the last game. Hypest money match I think I've ever seen. It was awesome. And then I lost I think, a money match to death as well. But, like, other than that, like, I was blowing everybody up. Like, I give myself credit for that because I worked really hard, and I was just in the zone on that particular day, and it makes you feel better about yourself to reinforce that, And if you go to a tournament and you don't do well, just because you don't do well in the tournament doesn't mean that you're not a great player. Like, people get blown up all the time, and there's so many top players that go to these tournaments. There's only 8 spots. I mean, in the top 8, and if you don't make top 8, then you're trash, kind of thing. But I don't, whatever. People can think whatever they want. I don't really care. So I love people, though. I love stuff like that because it fuels me. But I love it. I hate it how people say, oh, don't talk trash unless you go to a tournament kind of thing, because not everyone can go to tournaments, And there's lots of people that don't want to. And they love, like, it's like saying, like, if you're watching professional wrestling, like, you can't hate Brock Lesnar without going in there and fighting him. Like, sure you can. I mean, like, these, like, friggin' 35-year-old dudes that they love it. They love to watch it. They love to, be involved in it, And, it's not fair for us to say that you can't say anything unless you've been to a tournament, because that's wrong.
Right. Well, we talked about your confidence, playing casuals and such. Now that makes you feel great, if you're winning a bunch of sets, you're losing minimal matches. Well, a lot of community members have, even first-time tournament goers, even experienced tournament goers have said, they get nervous when they first sit down, or like recent example, Mr. Molina at Texas Showdown. How do you feel as the round 1 fight flashes across your monitor for the first time? What's going on in the mind of Edwin?
Not gonna lie, I get turning nerves really badly, and I get I shake a little bit, kind of thing, and as soon as it says fight, sometimes my mind just goes crazy with all these different things that I should do, and I get really confused. But usually after the first round is over, it kind of sets the tone for me, and the nerves kind of go away a little bit. If I feel out my opponent and see, what I'm doing right, what I can get away with, that kind of thing. And sometimes it's the opposite. If I get blown up the first round, holy man, that's then I'm like freaking out. But the thing that helps me though is that, because I only play one character, is the muscle memory that I have and the reactions from playing the game so much is usually what carries me through it. And I'll make a couple of input errors, and sometimes that is what usually costs me the match. Because I notice that I do the same input errors I've watched my tournament footage. I make the same input errors all the time. Like I'll go for a down 3, and then I'll do a sky drop, and bam, full punish. It's over, kind of thing. So I've really been working. I've been trying to get a lot of tournament experience the last couple of months, just going to locals and stuff, and really putting a lot of pressure on myself to perform and win, just so I can try and help and control those nerves for when I go to majors. And that's kind of, just doing things like joining these online tournaments that Mind Games has been doing, just stuff like that. And I take it all seriously, and trying to host little interclan STB tourneys and stuff, just to keep those nerves going. Because if you have the more that you experience them, the easier they're going to be to handle with when you're in a situation where, you need to overcome them.
Right. If you can win with nerves, then nerves aren't really much of a problem anymore. Right?
Exactly. And I think that's why New York, does so good at these tournaments all the time, because there's so many tournaments over there. And like in the Philadelphia area, New York, VSM every weekend, you have all these top players that have tournaments like every Thursday. And, I'm sure that they're way overcome that by now. So it's, I think that, as soon as you get the nerves out of the way and you're able to play to your full potential, that's where these top 8 guys come from.
Who do you think, and I'm glad you brought VSM up, who do you think is the most underrated player in the scene right now?
EGP Tyrant.
Tyrant? Really?
Absolutely EGP Tyrant. Everyone shits on this guy because he didn't do so good at MLG. Well, this guy, he improves so fast. It's crazy. I played him at Devastation. I went back recently and watched my tournament matches against him at Devastation, and I blew him out pretty badly. Like he didn't get a round off me, and I talked all this shit because I was all cocky. I was like, oh yeah, well, EGP Tires and Jax is overrated, blah blah. And then he assured me that it was just the matchup, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Came back SCR, and then he returned the favor and blew up my quanch, And then that's a scary thing. And seeing the way that he plays his jacks, the reads that he makes, his anti-airs, just like having played this guy a couple of different times, he is truly an amazing player. And I really wish that he could go to more East Coast tournaments, because I think that, he would really mess some stuff up for sure. And I'm excited to see him at EVO again this year. I think he'll do really well.
So what is your opinion on this whole East versus West thing? Just bringing up Tyrant.
Yeah. I think, to be brutally honest, I think the East will win. But I don't think it's going to be as much of a blow-up as the Midwest got blown up. I think the West Coast has a ton of talent. You have Tyrant, of course. Wonder Chef is underlooked, especially with his Freddy. The Vegas guys, the Texas guys. Like if you think about it, we have a lot of guys. But again, it comes down to a travel thing. The West. It's easier for them to be on the West Coast and do the West Coast tournaments than it is to go over and do the East Coast tournaments. And it's the same either way. So it's that's why EVO is so intriguing, because you'll see. This is where everybody gets together. And I think at EVO, we're going to get a big surprise. I think the top 8 is going to be nothing like what people think it's going to be.
I think the Euro factor is going to be huge.
That is exciting in itself. Like the Europe guys are so cool. Like if you ever talked to like Mustard or Temjin or any of those guys, like they're just such cool guys, and they just legitimately have fun in this game. And like their mentality over there is way different than it is over here. It's it's just, I don't know. I'm just super excited to see everybody get together. And I really hope that, after the tournament's over, everyone can just kind of, chill and, just have fun playing the game, It's, it'll be good. I mean, and I think that SoCal in particular are going to do really well against East Coast. I have a soft spot for SoCal because just of how well they treated me and everything when I went down there. Probably my favorite scene, favorite place I've been to as far as Mortal Kombat goes. And I think that they'll be the ones that shine on as far as the West Coast team, anyways.
Right. What is your advice for aspiring and current tournament players? The one segment of wisdom that could immediately improve their game. Like, what should we focus on? I've been asking everyone this question.
The one thing that's really important to me that everybody else shits on is online play. Online play can be frustrating at times when your anti-airs get stuffed, when your moves, they don't come out on time because you didn't buffer them properly or whatever. But once you get the hang of it, the problem is you can't go offline online constantly. If you're going offline online constantly, then there's really no point in doing that. You're just going to get confused and frustrated. But online has so many different players with so many different characters that the amount of matchup experience you get is invaluable. Like it's truly crazy. Like there's some of the best Ermacs only play online. Some of the best Jades only play online. Some of the best Shivas only play online. And these are characters that you could legit run into a tournament. And if you only play offline with your certain group of people that you have, you're probably not going to know how to face these characters. And I've ran into that a lot from playing Quan Chi. When I went to Devastation, a lot of people approached that matchup the wrong way. And I went to the final round, the same thing. Because no one has a Quan Chi that they spar with. And it's the same for a lot of the other characters too. So it's you need to play online at least a little bit to get that little bit of matchup experience. And regardless of whatever happens, you just need to know that if you try to do an anti-air and they stuffed it, that that might have hit offline, so that's something you could work on, and that you're making these reads properly. And it's just playing the game more. You have a chance to play the game from your living room for 20 minutes before you go to work. So, I mean, the more experience you play, the better. The other thing is to have fun with it, because it's a game. It's fun. This is a fun game. If it's not fun, then don't play it. I mean, that's as easy as it is. If you're getting frustrated and you're only playing this game to show up somebody else, or you're not going to do well just because you're stressing yourself out over it. The more fun that you have with it, the farther that you're going to go, the better you're going to play.
I think that's something that we can not only apply to online, but you can apply to your tournaments as well.
Big time.
If you're going to a tournament and you feel like you have to prove something to the world, some people take that and they do well, but most people, that's a lot of pressure on somebody's shoulders to go there and say, I need to win.
Yeah. Never go into a tournament, thinking that you're going to win. I've done that with a couple tournaments. It didn't work out for me. So my new mentality is I'm just going to go in and take it one match at a time. And I've always went in to have fun. It's always fun. Win or lose, it's always fun. It's always a great time. I never regret going to a tournament. And it's something that, I think most people should at least try and do, if they can, of course, try and do at least once. Just go to a tournament, see how well you do, meet some people, have fun, and you get to learn a little bit more about how these people actually are, outside of just seeing them on stream. So.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is once again that time. We've talked in depth with a man who just may be the face of the Canadian Mortal Kombat scene. I want to personally thank STB Shujinkydink on behalf of Life on Boon Street and our loyal viewers. His stories and words shall forever live on within this podcast and echo across the yards of Boon Street. STB Shujinkydink, I now give you the floor. You may say whatever you wish, shout-outs, call-outs, words of wisdom, whatever you want.
Big shout-outs to STB. You guys drive me every day to be better at this game. Some of you kick the crap out of me. And it's awesome. I enjoy every minute of it. I want to shout out to all my Quan children out there, everyone that's always active in the Quan Chi forums, and enjoying my videos. I'll keep fighting, keep repping that Quan Chi. I went away from him a little bit at SER, but now I'm strictly Quan Chi. I don't need to play anybody else. I'll do as well as I do with him. And for the record, everyone's trying to start this beef between me and his Super Bowl. It's not going to happen. We're buddies. We're friends. We share a lot of, Quan Chi information. I'm going to say he's the best Quan. He'll say I'm the best Quan. Who knows? I don't know. And, but yeah, it's not a competition for me with him. And, other than my Quan Chi shoutouts, just, all of STB, my family, my son, of course, friends. That's about it. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed my story and I didn't bore you to sleep.
Ladies and gentlemen, STB Shujinkydink.